Hello, everyone. It's Mega Champ once again with a review of my bold predictions over and with both special awards given out for my personal anime of the year and my personal game of the year. It is now finally time for me to reveal to you what my personal anime of the year, my final list, my top 3 and or 4 animes that I watched this year personally was and personally are. Obviously, as usual, as per normal, this is just my own personal list. So you can create your own list out of whatever you personally watched or played this year. That's just probably what you should do if you don't agree or disagree with what my personal list is. Everyone watches different animes and plays different games, obviously, and at least when it comes to video games, I am massively behind. Around 2 years behind when it comes to video games. I do somewhat of a better job, or a better job in general, when it comes to anime because I pretty much am able to keep up for the most part. Some animes obviously don't interest me in the slightest, like I've stated in the past, where I have said in the last video when I was talking about my special awards for the animes that I watched this year. How the Dear Friend anime and the Dan to Dan anime don't interest me in the slightest. But if you do like those animes, then good for you. This is just my own personal list and my own personal top 3 and or 4 animes that I personally watched this year and enjoyed the most this year. So, if you don't agree, just make your own list. It's just my own personal list, my own personal feelings and opinions at the end of the day. So, let's get started before I start rambling too much. I don't want to end up going too long. So, just as a quick sort of recap or refresher as far as the animes that I personally watched this year, they are once again Naruto Shippuden, which finally finished, Mashle Season 2, the Spice and Wolf reboot, Season 1 of that, My Hero Academia Season 7. Only one season left for that. Sad. It really is. Steins Gate and the movie for Steins Gate, and also Steins Gate Zero. So, pretty much the Steins Gate franchise. Although they did announce a new game, and I feel like it's inevitable that they end up doing an anime for that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I suppose only time will tell. But I did finally get myself to watch the Steins Gate animes. Demon Slayer Hashira Training Arc, Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, which is still ongoing, although now it has finally been revealed, at least on my anime list. I don't really keep up that much when it comes to these types of news, but it only has 25 episodes apparently, and I just watched 21. So that will be ending probably sometime next month. Near Automata version 1.1a Core 2, Uzumaki. Don't expect that to be on my final list. Right, because it won my disappointment of the year. Um, Ranma 1 half, the 2024 reboot, which is still ongoing. Rurouni Kenshin Kyoto Disturbance, the remake season of the Shishio arc, which is still ongoing. Bleach Thousand Year Blood War Part 3, still ongoing. Pokemon Horizons, still ongoing and still on break. And last, obviously, but certainly not least, Attack on Titan, the final season, the final chapters, which was basically two movies. So those were the animes that I personally watched this year. Probably, like I said before, the shortest list of animes that I've had. I don't think that will be the case, or it shouldn't be the case from what I have been seeing right now when it comes to animes in 2025. But again, I will save that for the most anticipated video. But yeah, it wasn't really a very stacked, quote unquote, or great anime season, anime year, or game year for me. But these things are going to happen every so often, and this just happened to be a year where I didn't fall into the, like I said before, the I've heard about it too much, so I'm going to watch it trap. So when it comes to my personal final list, it is technically three, but I do like to sort of give a overall special mention, which is pretty much de facto number four. So it's kind of a top four list, even though this is more than four. But you're gonna see kind of the reason for that here coming up. But this is my personal final list of the animes that I watched this year. The ones that I enjoyed the most, or that I personally felt, quote unquote, stood out the most. So, because these are my personal best animes that I watched this year, you're not really going to hear me say a lot of negative things mostly. There might be a couple of things here or there, but other than that, you're not really going to hear me criticize mostly or say negative things mostly about any of these animes. So just also keep that in mind, because this is the top 3, 4 list for me, and there won't really be. And the final list is obviously the best of the best, so to speak, the best animes that I personally watched, so there won't really be a lot of negative things for me to say about them. So, with all of the probably unnecessary explanation out of the way, let's get started. So, this is my final list, my top 3 and/or 4 animes that I watched for me personally this year. Let's start with the overall special mention, the de facto number 4. You will have seen this anime before, because it won my personal underrated anime of the year. So that should tell you that it is Demon Slayer Hashira Training Arc. I've already spoken enough about this anime, so I'm not really going to speak that much more about it. But it was really goddamn good, and I don't care what anyone says. You can criticize it all you want. You can say it's boring or a filler arc all you want. It was goddamn good filler. I'm sorry. And there's a thing called character development. I'm sorry. Do you just want all these characters to show up and just have them there and not know anything about them? Because if that's the case, there's going to be vast criticism as far as that's concerned as well. I would rather have character development of important characters than for these characters to just sort of be there and then for them to just go, hey, these characters are important, and that's all you need to know. No, 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 and more no. We need to know about them, who they are, what kind of person they are, and so on and so forth. The point is, I don't care what anyone says about this anime. It's really goddamn good. I'm sorry. Especially the final 2 episodes. Personally, the entire season was good, if you ask me. Good character development for all of the Hashiras. Still really good moments and really good parts of it with Tanjiro and a lot of the other characters. But the point is, the entire point of this season, in case it wasn't already obvious, was a preparation season for the final arc, the Infinity Castle arc, which is getting the movie treatment similar to the Infinity Train arc. um, Imagine that. Or Mugen Train, whatever you want to call it, I guess. But it's getting the movie treatment. It's getting 3 movies. I have obviously seen the argument go around that they are going to have to either rush it or skip a lot of stuff. Whether that will actually happen or not is once again to be determined. We will see. That's not really important or relevant right now. The point is the Hashira training arc is literally a training arc. It's preparation for the final arc of this series and of this franchise. And I still personally enjoyed it. I still thought it was really good with really good character development, and that's really all that matters, and that's really all that is important. So basically, the sort of point here, or the moral here, is character development is important. It always has been and it always will be. But opinions are always going to vary and are going to vast differently at the end of the day. But it was definitely one of the standouts of this year, especially considering nothing else really stood out for me personally this year. So I personally feels like it deserves to be on my final list for my de facto number 4. But technically, it's not in my top 3 if you don't want to count that. So, if you want to somehow celebrate that for some reason, go ahead. But it was still really goddamn good as far as I'm concerned, and I really enjoyed it. So, number 3, the third best anime that I watched this year. Not really hard here. It was literally the very first anime that I watched this year. Um, which again, I don't know why it took until March for me to start watching animes this year, but it was just a very slow year for whatever reason. And that anime is the second season of Mashal, Might and Magic and Muscles, or just Mashal for short. The second season for that, also known as the Divine Visionary Candidate Exam Arc. Had to make sure I got that right since I put it in my little notepad list. But basically, the second season of Mashal. This season started great and ended great. The first season did kind of start a little bit slow, as all seasons and all new franchises tend to do. I mean, hell, even Black Clover started incredibly slow, but even it eventually got really good. But once the second season of Mashal began and started, it didn't stop. It was great from start to finish, and it honestly deserves to be on this list. I really like this anime. It's really funny and really good and really great at times. I love. Maybe it's just me, but I do like some humor sometimes in anime, and it's kind of a mix of One Punch Man or Mob Psycho 100 with wizard stuff. Like I've seen someone say it's like a weird fusion of Harry Potter, One Punch Man, and Mob Psycho 100, which it definitely is. But it's great, and I freaking love it, and I can't praise it more. Very funny, very great, and just an overall great anime. There's really nothing else for me to say. I'm not very good at these types of things, so I'm just going to end up saying the same thing constantly, and I don't really like sounding like a broken record, so. But the second season was great. Um, some pretty massive stuff happened in the second season, so They did confirm that there are going to be more seasons, but just like with video games anymore, it's probably going to be a while before we see it. I don't think the next season will be happening in 2025. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me if I am wrong. But I've not heard that it's going to be next year. But, you can't rush this stuff, so it'll show up when it shows up. But I'm definitely looking forward to more seasons of it. And season 2 was probably the best season of Mashal thus far. Obviously, that's not really saying all that much because there's only been 2 seasons thus far, but it was good from start to finish. So, as far as I'm concerned, it definitely deserved to be in my final list and among my top 3. Really great, really funny. Looked forward to watching it. That opening, my God. Oh, man. Love that opening. So just great. It's just overall really great. So yeah, not much else for me to say. So now we get to my final 2. I know there's 3 images, but it's 2, trust me. The anime of the year runner-up, number 2, and of course, anime of the year. So, the second best anime that I watched this year, my personal runner-up for anime of the year 2024, despite the fact that it's a really old anime technically, but I go by what I watch in the year. I'm sorry. You can probably tell what's about to happen here since I just said that. Is the anime that I finally got myself to watch this year that I kept hearing way too much about and could never get around to. So I suppose you could say that ended up being a good thing that this year kind of being a little bit on the slower side because I finally found time to watch it. And of course, I'm talking about the Steins Gate animes. The first one and Zero. I watched both. And the movie, which is only this one and not Zero, but the Steins Gate anime franchise. In all brutal honesty, if I had to, the metaphor, the metaphor involving the dangerous weapon. If that dangerous weapon was put to me and I was forced to say whether my anime of the year runner-up was either Steins Gate or Steins Gate Zero, I would probably say Steins Gate because it was just the overall better anime. And I'll explain why here, but I will admit that Steins Gate, it does take a little too long to start becoming a good anime, and I'm not going to pretend like that's not the case, because it clearly is, and it clearly was. You have to get through practically half of the anime, so around 13 episodes or so, maybe more so around 11 or 12, but you have to watch about half of the anime before the major things start happening and for this anime to start becoming good. But once it does, goddamn is it good. Goddamn is it good. Really goddamn amazing. My God, is it so good. So yes, everyone was right, but they were also wrong. Because like I said, it takes a little too long for the anime to start becoming as good as everyone kept hyping it up about. And really overhyping it about. That's why it didn't win my personal anime of the year and just won my anime of the year runner-up, the second best anime that I watched. Steins Gate Zero is also really good, but there's a problem with this one as well. they don't involve, or they it's an anime that, unlike the original Steins Gate, does nothing with time travel for the majority of the anime. And I actually praised, and I would, at first at least, when I was watching it, I really loved that, honestly. I thought made it massively different and massively unique from the first Steins Gate anime, that they didn't want the main character, which I can't think of the name of right now, wanted to not involve himself with time travel anymore. And I thought that was actually really good and really unique and set it apart from the first anime. The only problem with that is they ended up contradicting themselves. I can't say I'm surprised, because I'm not. I am literally not surprised. But I have to say, it's a little disappointing. It really is, because they had the theme of the anime, for the most part, be don't do time travel, and then they contradict themselves and do time travel. So that's kind of the only problem with Steins Gate Zero. Other than that, it was still good. I'm not saying that it wasn't. Massive improvement animation wise over the first one, but that kind of makes sense because it came years after. If they end up making another anime off of the other new Steins Gate thing that's coming up and happening, it'll be another massive improvement in terms of animation. But so that just makes sense, but I don't know. Because of the fact that Steins Gate, the first one, uh, took practically half of the series, season, whatever, to become a good anime, and the fact that they contradicted themselves with what was initially the theme of Steins Gate Zero halfway into this anime, it just it rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm not going to pretend like that wasn't the case or didn't happen, because it did, and I am literally admitting that to you. So, it's a good anime. It is. It really is, and for the most part, for the most part, everyone was right about Steins Gate, at least the first one. It just takes too long to become a good anime, in my opinion. And then the second one contradicts the theme, that was, or contradicts everything they were doing in this anime at the halfway point. So it takes until the halfway point for this to become good, and which is a little too long in my opinion. And then this anime's theme is contradicted in the halfway point for this one. So it's a double-edged sword. I don't really know how else to put it, and I'm not good at, some kind of description or explanation or metaphor or whatever, but I would still massively recommend and suggest these two animes. Everyone claims that the movie is bad for this one. Meh. I can kind of see that, but I'm a little OCD when it comes to anime. And if there's a movie with it, then I'm going to watch it, because otherwise, what is the point? And then it's not really complete, quote unquote, if you ask me. So it's up to you what you do at the end of the day. I would recommend all of it, both animes and the movie, if you're OCD like me and you want to watch everything. But do whatever you want at the end of the day. I do at least recommend the first anime and the second anime. Just be aware, it takes a while for this one to become good, and then the theme is contradicted halfway into this one. So once the halfway point is hit, for these two animes is when things either go very well in this anime's case or contradicts itself in this anime's case. Not really much else for me to really say, unfortunately. It is what it is. I but because of just the way that I personally feel and my personal experience with the Steins Gate animes, that's why it didn't win my anime of the year. It was the favorite, I won't lie to you. But then another anime ended up showing up and it ruined its career. Which seems to be a theme for me, but it is a good anime. I'm not saying that it's not. It is, but it has problems that nobody wanted to really point out, and now I am pointing them out to you, so oh well. I still enjoyed the animes and I would still massively recommend them. It's just unfortunate that these things ended up happening. I mean, people say that things are left out of both animes, and I can't really say I'm surprised with that fact, with that knowledge. But there's really nothing that can be done unless they fix it with an anime based off of the new Steins Gate thing. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. Only time will tell at the end of the day. But they're still good animes. Good enough to win my personal anime of the year, runner up, and the second best animes that I watched this year. But if I had to choose one of these to be number 2, it would probably be the original, because it's just overall better and it doesn't contradict itself. So oh well, big oof, big rip. But hey, if you ask me at least, second best anime that I watched, anime of the year runner up, is still pretty decent. It's still pretty decent, if you ask me at least, but that's just me. That's just how I feel. It's still a great anime, so, of course, obviously, the question then becomes, and the question is then asked, well, Mega, what won your anime of the year for 2024? Well, the answer to that is very interesting. The answer to that is, boy, how no production issues and no production delays make a vast amount of difference. Make a vast, massive ass difference. Anime of the year 2024. My personal anime of the year for this year that I personally watched is Nier Automata 1.1a Core 2. Wow, Nier is just winning a bunch of shit for me, but it deserves it. It deserves it, and nobody is going to tell me differently. How no production issues with this anime made a vast amount of difference. It really did. Because those production issues that occurred during the first core, the first 13 episodes, it really did make a difference. It really did. I don't know if it would have won that year or not, because I believe that was the year the MHA season 1, but My Hero Academia. But goddamn. And I know You don't have to tell me. I know, I am very well aware of how many anime adaptations of games have gone horribly, or at least have not gone well. Let's put it that way. This might be, and I'm being brutally honest with you here, at least out of all of the anime adaptations of a video game that I have watched thus far, and there are still many that I still need to watch: Ace Attorney, Devil Survivor 2, although I didn't play that game, but still, so on and so forth. Out of all of the um, anime adaptations of a video game, this has probably been the best anime adaptation of a video game thus far, maybe ever. Because from what I have heard, the Persona 5 anime is bad as well. I don't know if that's actually true or not. I still need to watch that for myself. But the point here is, for me personally, okay, just me personally, this is why this is my personal list and you need to make your own list. But for me personally, the Nier Automata anime, particularly the second half, Core 2, is probably the best anime adaptation of a video game thus far. I'd even go as far as to say the entire anime, Core 1 and Core 2, is the best anime adaptation of a video game thus far. Because not only does it cover everything in the game really well, it does shit that the game does not do. I cannot deny that. And if you watch it, or if you did watch it, I don't think you can sit there and deny it either. Because it did shit the game did not do. It gave character to development to the Resistance members. The game didn't do that. It gave character development, or at least more character development, for A2, particularly on her past and stuff that happened in her past. The game didn't do that. All it did was be very vague and hint at it. It's really goddamn good. It's really goddamn good. I'm sorry. And I know that there are people, because I've seen them on Discord, who don't want to watch anime adaptations of video games because every time they're shit. And I get that, and I understand that, and I understand your hesitation. And there are also people who just don't like Nier and Nier Automata, and I get that, and I understand that. I didn't like it at first either, but I just kept hearing too much about it, and now I don't regret it, and now I'm a fan of it. Imagine that. Imagine giving something a chance. But some people are going to stick their feet in the ground or dig themselves a 60-foot hole that they're never going to come out of, and every time you try to talk to them, they're going to cup their hands over their ears and act like a mental 5-year-old and scream la 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 la. That's on them. That's on them. For me personally, this might be the best anime adaptation of a video game yet. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. The second core was great. The first core was good too. Great character development given to the Resistance members that the game didn't do. Create great character development for A2 that the game didn't do. Covers everything in the game wonderfully. It does cover some of the parody endings as well, just so you know, but it's in the sort of I don't know what to call it. I know there's a specific term for it. Omakes. I think that's what it's called. Omake. 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 That's how I'll pronounce it for the purposes of this video. That they kind of do with the little puppet stuff at the credits at the end. Well, although they take that out for the last couple of episodes, but I'm just saying they cover some of the parody endings there. Not all of them, not every single one of them, but most of them. So they do that as well. They cover the story. They cover the parody endings, and they do shit the game didn't do. The only thing that the anime doesn't do, which, if you ask me, is not really necessary anyway, is cover the side quests. They honestly, they do cover a couple of side quests, or at least the most important ones, or the most intriguing or interesting ones. But a majority of the side quests they don't cover at all. But they're side quests, so who really cares? Like, really, who cares about side quests? If you want side quests, play the game. I'm sorry. You want side quests, play the game. When it comes to anime adaptations, side quests are not necessary. I'm sorry. They're not. They're not. Side quests are not necessary, as far as I'm concerned. And if you want how I feel, which is why you're here, I'm assuming. Side quests aren't necessary. I'm sorry. They just aren't. They aren't. They just aren't. They do cover a couple of them, the most interesting ones and the most intriguing ones. But them covering every single side quests is not mandatory. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's just not. If you ask me, at least. This was the best anime that I watched this year. I'm sorry. That may not say a lot, and maybe it doesn't, because of the fact that this was a very slow year in terms of anime that I watched. But it was the best one, so it deserved it as far as I'm concerned. It really did, and it really does, because the anime did shit that the game didn't do. And that deserves all the praise in the world. And the fact that it covered everything else really well, if you ask me. Maybe not literally shot for shot. You know, when you compare animes to the manga version, when that's a thing. So it's not shot for shot. But if you ask me, this is still the best anime adaptation of a video game yet, thus far. If something beats this out, I'll be the first to let you know, okay? I will. I still haven't watched the Ace Attorney anime, and I still haven't watched the Devil Survivor 2 anime, even though I didn't play the game, so I can't really compare the two in that regard. But the Ace Attorney anime was done by Crunchyroll and Funimation, and we all know how well that went when it came to Danganronpa. And we all know how well that went for that Trails of Cold Steel anime. Aniplex seems to do a better job. I don't know why, because Aniplex is also owned by Sony. So it makes no sense in any way whatsoever how Aniplex is doing a better job with video game anime adaptations than Crunchyroll is, but that's not something I have any knowledge of. As I discussed before, I have no knowledge of the anime industry. But this anime definitely deserved it. It really did. It's really goddamn good. It's really goddamn good. And because there was no productions delays this time, and because of the stuff that was covered in the second half, Core 2, which is, you know, endings C to E, basically, is great. It's fucking great. And there's no other way for me to say it, and there's no other way for me to describe it. Really goddamn good. I'm sorry. It just was, and it just is. I'm sorry. That's why this is my own personal list, and you need to make your own list. So, congratulations, Nier Automata, version 1.1a, Core 2. You are my personal anime of the year for 2024. And even though I said I wouldn't go that long, I have, but it is the final list. I'm sorry. I can get very rambly. That's just how I am. You should know this by now. and you should not be surprised. So, I just feel like it deserves it. I really do. I really, really do. So, just to quickly finish up here so I don't go for too much longer, my final list of my personal anime of the year for 2024 is Demon Slayer Hashira Training Arc is overall special mention, de facto number 4. Number 3 is Mashle Season 2, Divine Visionary Candidate Exam Arc. Anime of the Year runner-up, number 2 for 2024 is the Steins Gate animes. More so this one than this one, but and Anime of the Year 2024 is Nier Automata version 1.1a Core 2. So there you go. My final list for my personal anime of the year for 2024. Congratulations, Nier. You won again! Oh boy, when that next Nier game comes out. Oh boy. Alright, next up is my final list for my personal game of the year. Not much better. Probably worse because nothing really stood out, but I have to choose something. I have to come up with a list, and that's what I am tempted to do, and things may or may not have changed. I don't care if it's biased. Look forward to that. Until then, which I don't know when I'll do it, sometime this week. I don't know when. I'll figure something out. This is Mega Champ saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. This series is never going to disappoint me. That's what's abundantly clear. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. It's never going to disappoint me. That's what's abundantly clear. All right. See you next time for my top 3 and 4 games that I played this year. My personal game of the year. The final list for 2024. And then we can talk about anticipated in 2025 stuff. Until then, bye.